there's rumors of possibly, and I forgot the lady's name. She covers. She's a Spanish lady with glasses. She works for the Zone. I forgot her name. She said on the Boxing Voice, I think it was, that Canelo Alvarez is a possibility to fight Beterbiev, and not only that she believes that he would defeat Beterbiev. Is that something? And again, we all know Canelo's the cash cow. We all know it's a lot of money. Is that something that Beterbiev is interested in? And what do you feel about that?
Arthur's never ever mentioned Canelo's name. Like we never talked about it. I don't think I'll be honest, like a couple people I've seen online, they say I'm lying, right? I'm telling you, man, the only time he's seen Canelo fight is when we've sat him down to show him our opponent, Bivol, in his fight against Canelo.
Oh, it's Canelo. Okay.
Just looking at some stuff, you know what I mean? Arthur doesn't watch him. He doesn't care. He wanted to be undisputed. That's the one thing he talked about over the last few years was undisputed. And in his mind, you're a champion, but you can't be the real champion unless you have all the belts.
All the belts, yeah.
So he's done that. I think at this point, whatever they bring him, the management, and I think he's just going to go with whatever they think, and but I don't think he ever really thought about Canelo. Because Canelo got beat by Bivol. So in his mind, he beat Bivol. So what does he need to beat Canelo for? He already beat Bivol,
I mean, granted, Bivol did beat Canelo, right?
Right.
But I think legacy-wise, we all know where Canelo is. People understand, like Canelo, I mean, he's about to headline in Japan. There's rumors of him in Wembley. I mean, just the amount of people that are going to just see it. Is that not something enticing for him? Because, listen, Beterbiev is, I think I have him a top 5 pound for pound. He's like 3 around there. Might be even closer to 1, right? You there, John? I know you broke up. Okay, you there. But with a win against someone like Canelo, he may be number 1 now at that point. I mean, do you feel like that can motivate him to fight Canelo? Or?
Well, I think if they, really explain it to him and say, listen, like this fight is going to bring eyes upon you, all at once that have never seen you before. Like this is going to be amazing. It's a huge fight legacy wise. I'm sure. I don't think it's going to take a lot to convince him. You know what I mean? I would, he's not a dumb guy by any stretch of the imagination. We explained to him the level of the fight. But right now I think he's really enjoying, being undisputed. I think that was his ultimate goal, I think. But I would say a rematch with Bivol would make the most sense. And then Canelo. I would say that. But, the only thing I think, if people, when they see Arthur and Canelo next to each other, they're going to realize how small Canelo actually is. Like he's not a big guy. He's not a big guy. Arthur fought 201 as an amateur heavyweight. Arthur wasn't a light heavy. He was a 201 as an amateur. So he has the frame, and he was successful at that weight. He won world championship at that weight in amateurs, and so he's successful at that weight. He can carry the weight and the power and all of that. I think there's a reason why Canelo, when he moved up to light heavyweight 2 previous times, I think there's a reason he didn't choose Arthur, and part of it probably was he wasn't the biggest, global name at the time, but also is because his power and his strength and his size. Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, listen, I'm a huge Canelo fan. He's my favorite fighter. Yeah. I don't want to see him fight Beterbiev. I'm scared. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like,
right. Well, that's the thing. Here's what I always said. If they don't fight, I don't blame Canelo. Like, this guy's big. He's a big guy. And Canelo used to be what, 147, I think. I saw Canelo
147 to 154. Yeah.
I saw him fight. It's a crazy thing. He was on a show. I was in the dressing room. This was back around 2006 or 7. Outside of Los Angeles, out in the desert there. They had the Pachanga or one of those places.
Yeah.
and he was in the dressing room, and he stood out to me because he looked like an Irish kid. I thought he was Irish, but he was Mexican. He was fighting Larry Mosley, who at the time I knew because Larry had been a top amateur, and I thought Larry was going to be the favorite. I thought Larry was going to beat the kid from Mexico. It turns out that was Canelo Alvarez. So he was 147, 150 back then.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't blame him if he said, look, Arthur's too big. He's a big light heavy. He's a huge. It's just too much. I wouldn't blame him for that. It'd be realistic.
No, absolutely. I mean, I just feel like Bivol, and it sucks in boxing that beating a Bivol or fighting a Beterbiev because they're in the division and the lights and glamour aren't there. Like, I believe that should have been a 2 million buy pay-per-view. That's how great these two individuals were talent-wise.
Right.
And I feel like, Arthur may never get that credit because of that. Because he didn't fight the big names. Similar to, we have Roy Jones or whatever, but he never had his, and he was popular, but he never had that equal. Beterbiev had the equal with Bivol in a sense in that division and unified. And I just want to see this guy get everything that he should get. The way people should talk about him. Because
you know what the problem is? You know why he's not? Think about this. Like, really think about this.
Yeah.
If Arthur was a guy who went on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and talked crazy trash and said, I'm going to destroy everybody. And if he called out guys by name and he had pictures of them and held them up and punched the picture, and crumpled up the picture and threw it on the ground, people would be talking about, he'd be a household name. He would be the Terminator. He would be the bully, right? It's not him. It's not, Eddie Hearn said before the fight, he tried to make a big thing. Like, he said Arthur was, what did he use the term? Not brash, but you might know. Like, he said he was cocky or something like that, like aloof, whatever he said, because he wasn't talking big at the press conferences. And I'm like, man, that's not him. That's not him. He's not a big talker. Arthur would disgrace himself and his family and his religion if he was to be there talking crazy and pushing the opponent. He wouldn't demean himself. You can give him 100 million. He's not that guy. He's not going to do that. He's not going to demean his family, his wife, his kids watching him. He's not going to have his kids watching him act a fool to try to draw pay-per-view buys. It's just not him.